Okay, so because we have new people, I'm going to introduce myself once again. My name is Azhar, and I'm with Sport SG. I'm assisted this evening by two of the other senior coaches, Daryl and Nelson. And when we break up into group discussion, we also have additional expertise behind Jin and company contributions. Alright, so if they were to just jump in, know that they are facilitating you and helping you in the discussion, and not anybody just they're all senior coaches. Alright, so everybody should have a copy of this. Tonight's module will be on building positive culture in my sport. And at the end of this, I'm going to pre-warn you, at the end of the session, you need to submit something. So what is that something is found on page 16, just before all the references. So you see the table here? Yeah, so this is what you, at the end of the lesson, need to tear out and submit to us for the purpose of assessment. Right? But of course, in getting there, if you've been paying attention, you should be able to do individually without discussing with anybody else what you read here. So we want to already. Yeah. So if you therefore do not understand any part of the class or what we're delivering, just put up your hand, stop me, ask me for clarifications. I'm more than happy to do that. Okay? Alright. Okay, so we often talk about culture, team culture, right? Organizational structure, culture. Who has not heard of the use of the word or the word culture? Put up hand. Who have not? Okay, so we're all familiar, yeah? So for us, positive culture is key to a successful coach, a successful athlete, and therefore a successful sport. Put up your hands if you agree. Put up your hands if you agree with this statement. A strong positive culture is key to a successful coach, a successful athlete, and a successful sport. Yeah? Why is it important? And why did you agree? Or why do you agree? Conducive for what?
Learning and comfortable.
Learning and?
Feel more comfortable.
Okay, alright. So I'm going to ask all the new fellas. Felicia, what do you think? Why do you agree with this statement? Okay, when the athletes are motivated, the coach also becomes motivated, right? And therefore you have positive impact on the sport, on the learning relationship. That's what you just said, and also the sport in general, right? Whether you are coaching a small group of kids at a condo, or you are coaching elite swimmers, is the same, right? You want to establish that positive culture in your sport. Okay? So I want you to look at this video, which Carol will help me plug in the audio for me. And following this video, you get into your small groups and you will chat about not only what you see, but what you hear. I know it's the Australian accent, so you may not be able to pick up so much, but try your best to listen up to what is being said, or what I said. Okay, just let it run.
Now here, two independent reviews into the Australian swim team's poor performance at the London Olympics. Now here, two independent reviews into the Australian swim team's poor performance at the London Olympics have unearthed explosive details. Senior team members are accused.
Okay, maybe before that, in case you're lost and wondering what's all this all about. Are you familiar what happened with the Australian team at the Olympics? Okay, why? What was the big drama and the saga? Lack of what, sorry? Lack of teamwork arising from what? Not just lack of teamwork, there are many other issues. Anybody heard about that? There is some issues of culture, and in a while you will listen, you get to hear what those issues are. And it was those things that led to the not so good performance of So that's the backdrop behind this. So this was a report, therefore, that came after that episode of that saga, that drama, and listen up, therefore, to what they're saying and what they're seeing.
Now here, 2 independent reviews into the Australian swim team's poor performance at the London Olympics have unearthed explosive details. Senior team members are accused of bullying, abusing alcohol and prescription drugs, and thus creating a toxic culture. Liam Cox has our report.
Blame attribution probably isn't where we need to go here. Obviously there are things in hindsight that I can look at now, and I think maybe I could have addressed those things differently.
Australian swimming coach Lee Nugent is struggling to keep his head above water.
Now, any high performance job's one of those tenuous positions, I think, anyway.
In London, Australia produced its worst swimming performance since the 1992 Barcelona Olympics.
We lost sight of what a team goal was. I don't feel like we had direction in that respect.
Individually, and as the leader of the 4x100 relay team,
The place of dejection.
the missile, James Magnussen, bombed.
As to the swimmers, no psychologist on the swimming team was probably a major mistake that will be rectified.
There are allegations of a Stilnox bonding party before a major race.
And I think the biggest thing with this is the fact that the AOC actually specifically said not to engage in taking those prescription drugs.
Last September, relay swimmer Tomasa Dorsonia courageously gave an insight into the culture and specifically suggestions of drug use during an interview with 10 Slate News.
Did you ever see any as a member of the Australian swim team use Stilnox?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to be the guy that lies on media, so I'm not going to be the guy that stands up here and lies to Australia.
In the report, one swimmer described London as the lonely Olympics. Shattered with silver, Emily Seabohm received little support.
Everyone stuck to themselves and wanted to do the best that they could do, and they thought they could do that just, preparing by themselves.
It's understood some athletes were partying at the pub, while teammates were still competing in the pool.
So the board of Swimming Australia recognise it's an issue with culture.
A culture described as toxic.
It's a pretty emotive word, toxic. So I'm not really sure what that means. But behavioural issues weren't overtly obvious.
Yet today's reports don't name the bullies, the drug takers, those toxic individuals sinking Australian swimming. Liam Cox, 10 News.
So the Bluestone Review was convened to address the issues that came out at the London Olympic Games, and obviously what affected the swimmers' and swimming performance. So it was a toxic culture which saw swimmers getting drunk, misuse of prescription drugs, breaching curfews, deceit, bullying during the London Olympics. Right? So there is a need, therefore, the Bluestone Review recommended that there is a need for collective leadership response that includes coaches, staff, and the swimmers. So the first activity that we want you to get into would be to get in your groups, that piece of paper there, draw a line in the middle. What are the things that you pick out in terms of what happened? Prescription drugs and so on, drinking and all. And then ask as a coach now, what will be some of the things that I would want to put in place to ensure that in my team that doesn't happen? Yeah? Alright, get into your groups and start discussing.
Yeah, so basically what I do for drinking, right, is we'll deny them the chance to participate in the training but they'll be thinking like when they are a bit older.
So if they drink, then you will ban them from training. Okay.
Yeah. Then for the younger kids, we'll do like education. So like they can drink but don't drink before training or
drink after training for rehydration.
Okay. Then for the misuse of drugs, right? Drugs, we want to do like encouragement. So like basically between swimmers. So like I'm pretty sure that there are bad ships. There are some bad ships and also like good ships. So the good we'll make use of the good ships to encourage those around them not to like misuse drugs. And also, we also want to educate the younger kids about the consequences of taking drugs, what it does to you, how you cannot like swim after you take drugs, how next time in the future you want to be a professional, right? Taking drugs will, like how to say, stop you from being able to participate. Then for bullying, right? So we want same like we'll do education, and also one more thing is that we'll try to create closer bonds. Because when you bully, it means that you all are not really very close. You feel like you're superior to the other person. So you create bonds such that they are equals from a young age, right? I'm sure that the bullying will reduce quite by a bit. Then for disease and breaking curfew and partying, right? So this applies more to the older kids, I guess. Like when you go for competitions and stuff. So what we do is we set a rule. So if let's say there are a competition at time, okay, 10 PM you all must be back. No matter what you do, it's 10 PM you must be back. And you cannot go party, you can go and walk around and shopping, but you cannot drink, cannot do that. If they don't follow, then you just maybe kick them out of the team, or you just deny them the chance to participate in the competition.
Yeah. Okay. Alright. Put our hands together for this. What will happen to the child if you deny, or even an adolescent if you deny them from training? Sorry? They might go and drink some more, right? Depressed. Yeah, but even worse, and you cannot monitor them because they've not been turning up for training, right? Yeah. So whatever you put down, and as far as the assignment that you need to do at the end of this evening, you must always try to think, if I were to do this, what would be the consequence? Right? So we do not want to have unintended consequences where, in the example I gave, right, you bar them from coming for training and then the person gets depressed, you can drink some more. Right? When actually, perhaps, I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong, but what would be a better measure? Okay. Again, I won't say it's wrong, but just think about the unintended consequences. Yeah.
I will maybe ask, why are they drinking? Ask them the reason why they're doing it.
Very good.
Because sometimes they actually might be, they have a family tragedy or whatever.
Exactly.
So, I'm not saying that.
Yeah. So what are we trying to do when we start asking and finding out why? Yeah. So they're trying to understand what led to that person doing that. Yeah. If he or she then say, "Coach, I actually drank because you're such a lousy coach that I cannot take it, that's why I drink." So what is the solution? I can be better coach, right? Right? So sending him away and asking them to do more training will not help the situation. So very, very, in fact, it's an excellent point, right? We need to understand, find out what is the reason why. And in order for us to find out, what are we trying to establish? Stronger bond, stronger relationship between you as a coach and the athlete, right? And that, in effect, will bring about a stronger positive culture, a stronger culture, right? So always think along those lines, find out what is the reason first, and then fix the issue, right? Okay, because if the reason, as Yuchao always said, right, is because of family problem, then, wow, that's not so easy to fix, you know? But at least I know it's a family problem, I can go to the parents and say, hey, let's help the child. Swimming is really something that they love, then bind that child to the swimming bit, you know? Yeah? Alright? Okay. This group now, come, front group. Who's going to
Take them on the negative impact of doing drugs or drinking alcohol.
Okay. Alright, put hands together for this group. Thoughts, comments from the others? What do you think? What will Team Bonded do? Is this a reaction to this? That will be a reaction, right? Drink, then deny them a chance to participate. Is this a reaction to this? So what are you trying to do here? right? You're trying to strengthen so that this thing will never happen, or very unlikely that this will happen. Yeah. So what does team bonding do? Team bonding activities. What does it do to the team? Okay, what does it do to the team?
Feel respect.
Yeah. What else? There are many things, right? Yeah. They are closer to each other. They feel strongly connected, and so on. So you are anticipating, or you're trying to build strong culture so that this thing not likely going to happen anymore. Yeah. So this is more proactive, right? And these are the things that we want you guys to think about as coach, right? What do I put in place when I set it up, right? So in terms of sequencing, these modules place last because the assumption is once you finish your entire, or what you should be thinking about, okay, now I've come to the end of the course. After this, if I pass, I can start coaching, whether a small group in condo or wherever. So if I'm starting from zero, right? I get a new group, what do? I inject some team bonding activities. I go for after session, right? Where possible, and yeah, if not possible, never mind. I can still do team bonding within the activity and play games and all that, right? Get to know each other and so on. Yeah, so this is the things that you want to put in place. Now I'm a coach. This is what we do when I'm starting off a new team, or taking and teaching and coaching a new group. Alright, okay? So that's what we want you to be thinking about. Yeah? Okay, this group. Jackie, yes.
Okay, so basically the issues are quite similar to whatever everybody has presented, including between conservative and flexible, as what was being presented during the video. So some of the preventive measures that we have put down is to enforce house rules. So this is one of the preventive measures in a sense that we put it right ahead to the athletes, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. So in the hope that they will understand and they will not make this mistake. So some of the house rules could be like no drinking during competitive periods, for example, and these will bring me to stricter penalties overall, generally to deliver stricter penalties on the athletes if they were to break rules. So for example, if let's say they are found bullying, then perhaps like the penalty will be like we will take them off the team, not take them off training. We'll take them off the competitive team, and then they'll probably go through like consultation and like see what is their what's their problem and all. Yeah, and then of course we will always like treat each other in respect. So throughout the entire training, respect will be the thing that is being focused on. So if athletes are found to be like not respecting each other, then of course they will probably get punished together as a team or get rewarded together as a team, so they understand that they are in it together, whether they like it or not. Then then the rest will be like pretty much the same, like more social activities to create team bonding. And of course, most importantly, the coach and the team manager must be a role model themselves, because if you have very bitchy coaches, then of course you will have very bitchy athletes too, because you will generate this unhappiness among them, especially if you practice favoritism, like maybe you prefer this athlete to the other one. Yeah, this will also cause unrest, and also it's very important that as a coach or team manager you must set the standard.
Alright, thank you. I must say I really like the role modeling part that they highlighted, because like it or not, your students, your athletes, your swimmers will look at you and will look up to you. So sometimes you can have house rules, but you yourself don't behave according to what is written, then it's a problem, right? So you have to be exemplary in your conduct and your behavior, because like it or not, they look up. You cannot say, oh, don't follow me. Right, so you're not supposed to smoke, we're not supposed to drink. Right, so we have to be exemplary. I mean, the last session we talked about being punctual also, right? So if you expect the kids to be punctual, then you yourself must be punctual as well. Right? So again, this, just like that, and a little bit of that, are our proactive actions that we want to start, we want to initiate. Right? So house rules will be one of those things. Okay? Alright. Yeah, this one even talk about team manager. Just want to talk about like get together, and also that one about after session meals. Just be careful as far as safe spot is concerned. If I want to build strong bonds with him and with her, assuming this somebody of the opposite gender, right? Okay, come let's go for McDonald's or one. Just you and I. Huh? Team or this one, another lady, another girl. Let's go together. So those are the issues, yeah. Because like in Australia, they have the rule of two. A coach cannot be alone with somebody. There must be always two persons. Yeah. All right. So we have to also to think about that. All right, to prevent such situations as well. So you just need to be aware of the safe spot issues. Okay. All right. Is good. Larry, you're closest to the. Okay, come home.
Okay, for group form of bullying, okay, we try to have more communication, positive communication between the coach and the students. So from there, you can actually find out why they are bullying each other. Okay. So we must implement some positive, let's say, knowledge. So this thing will not happen again. For drug taking and drinking, okay, we must clearly set rules. Okay, so this thing will happen. And also we need to tell them what is the seriousness of taking drugs and drinking. For example, if you drink or take drugs, you probably don't shoot that. Okay, so we need to tell them all this, what's the disadvantages of taking drugs and drinking for that. Okay. Other than that, I always believe that we must have a good view between the coaches and the swimmer to find out more, like, sometimes even though they swim, but also we need to find out why sometimes they go for drinking and maybe taking drugs of each other. Maybe in the end they have some, let's say, some bad habits, or even they got some other problems that we need to find out. Yeah. So from there, then bonding in terms of, let's say, I mean, drinking wise, doesn't mean that they cannot drink. If there's no competition or no training, yeah, you can have some drinks outside there, maybe to keep you out of bond. But when it comes to competition or even come to, let's say, training, it's only no drinking or drinking outside.
Okay, put hands together for now. Thoughts and comments? Again, a series of proactive things. I mean, you guys after finishing level 1, you're not likely to be taking adults sort of swimmers. Most of you will not. And therefore, drug taking and drinking may not be a big issue. So the challenge is, where do I insert that education opportunities? So let's say there are major games like the Asian Games now happening, then there's opportunity for you to just say, hey look, the Asian Games are happening, do you know what would happen if they found out that you were to take something to enhance your performance? Then that's an opportunity, because it's hard out of the blue, then it's suddenly, okay, today we're going to talk about drug taking. Then it's like, there's a disconnect there. Yeah. So most of it, especially the younger level, will be what sort of issues? Bullying, yeah. So that's a real issue at a younger level, right? What else? Sorry? Yeah, no teamwork. The other thing that you hear is don't support each other, right? So somebody is racing and then you don't even turn up. So those are the small little things, or not small, those are the things that at their level they are likely to be able to relate to, or they're likely to happen. Yeah? And we want to take a proactive approach. Okay? Questions? If not, then this is really the gist of what we're going to do tonight. At the end of this module, you should be able to develop communication strategies for parents, employers, and officials. Secondly, communicating goals and simple targets to the athletes. And then finally, apply Heckman's 5 factors model in sport and field management. So these are some of the things you would have covered in the online module anyway. So we're just going to reinforce that and then translate to your practice, what you're going to be doing once you step out there as a full-fledged coach. Okay? So we say culture and use the culture word a lot. But what is culture and how do we define it? How would you define culture, Aidan?
I think it's based on
Elon, you want to help him out? Elon Musk is a brilliant guy.
So I feel like culture is like how everybody will act together as a team instead of individual.
So you define culture as everybody acting together as a team? Angel? Norms. So culture are norms. Alright.
It's a belief and a way of life in a particular area where you are brought up from.
Okay.
And everybody are following that way of life and that sort of belief that shape us.
Okay.
That you pass on to the next batch.
Alright. Can you see culture? Can you feel culture?
Yeah,
Kallang Huh?
Kallang Wave culture.
Kallang Wave no more already, Kallang Wave. We're not doing so well in football. No more Kallang Wave. Alright, so I think it's important for us to understand this. And Masa, who does some work with us at Sport SG, talked about culture as being likened to gravity. You can't see gravity, but it affects you, right? If you jump up, you go back down, right? So what he's saying is whether you like it or not, if you have established a strong culture, then it will influence you even when you can't see it, even when you don't feel it, it affects you, right? Whether you like it or not, it affects you, right? So the question therefore is, just like gravity, can you control gravity? If culture is likened to gravity, so the question here is, can you control gravity? No. You cannot control gravity. How do those people learn how to, handle equipment in space and have training on the Earth? What do they do? Sorry?
Float around.
Float around in what situation? So, are they able to mimic that? Weightlessness? They can, in what way?
They do it underwater.
They can do it underwater, so you experience weightlessness. What else? What's that?
There's a training center.
They have a training center where they can alter the gravitational pull, right? So you feel the sense of weightlessness. So that's where he was coming from. That actually we can control gravity. Right? So just like culture, we as coaches, we can control it. And if we can control it, we can control culture. Just like if we can control gravity, then our athletes can soar and they can fly. So that was his point, how he likened gravity to culture. Okay? So what do we do? So that's why the last 15 minutes of tonight, you have to put those things down, the action plan, so that you build a strong culture in your team. Okay? You get the point? Right. So team culture is not usually associated with individual sports like swimming, even though they are relays, even though they are part of the team. So you're going to be thinking of it that way. Don't look at them as individuals, but see them as a team. Yeah? So in the process of building a new team, therefore team culture must be established. What is it that you establish? You establish house rules. You establish relationship through the team bonding activities. So these are the things that you put in place in order to build a strong positive culture. Alright? So the head coach New Zealand Swimming talked about teamwork is vital, a work-oriented culture, positive environment, and working together as a team. Starting practice together. Right, so these are some practical takeaways, right? Practical practices. Going into the weights room together, starting the sets together. Small little things like wearing the same shirts to a session, to making sure we're cheering for each other. It's those small little things that has an effect on culture. But it cannot be just so happen that we have a competition and we cheer. It has to be deliberate, it has to be explicit. Then that's how you define and strengthen the culture. Alright? So in establishing those culture, who would you say are our stakeholders as a coach? Who are our partners? Who is everyone? The students themselves, parents, other coaches, if you're working with a team of coaches. What else? Who else? Association. Yeah. Clubs. Who else? If you go and bring them for competition, who else do you interact with? The officials, right? So they are our partners, they are stakeholders, and therefore we need to be thinking about that. There are just way too many cases, maybe not so much for swimming, but in other sports where coaches shout at officials, shout at the referee, shout at the umpires. Is that healthy? Even though the umpire made the wrong decision, disqualify you wrongly, it can be a source of tension, right? But if you go and shout at them, then who's watching us? Students. Who's the role model? Then they also follow. Then you say, yeah lah coach, that fella lousy lah. Right? Or whatever. So we need to find out who our stakeholders are. So I think in your slide, in your learner's guide, I've got that for you. So again, in your final, the evening, the final part of this evening where you write down assignment, you need to, the things that you put in place must include how you're going to manage and how you're going to deal with all these stakeholders, okay, all these partners. Okay? Alright? So some of the good practices that coaches adopt are these. Number one, develop positive, respectful relationship between coaches and students. That is first and foremost. If nothing else, they don't go for competition and so on, what would it be? The relationship is just you and the swimmers, that's all. Right, at a very basic level. Right, but of course we know that it's not just the students, the parents and all that, yeah? Second is establish practices that support safe and caring environment, like learning and well-being strategies. So that would prevent things like bullying, right, and disrespectful, and don't support other teammates. Plan activities and training that swimmers look forward to participating in. So what kind of activities would they have to be? That they look forward to coming back for training, they look forward to coming for a next session. What must it be? Very good. Capital F-U-N. It has to be fun. Right? If you're just going to do drills and drills and drills, everybody's going to be bored with that. Right? Especially the young kids. Already in swimming, you cannot talk to each other when you're in the water. Right? Then it's not fun, it's just drills. Then that's going to kill off the motivation. I think you talk about motivation and enthusiasm. Yeah? So we need to be thinking about that. What activities do we plan? Practice inclusiveness and differentiation. So this should be familiar to those who attended the last class, right? We talked about the spectrum of teaching styles. So what is the teaching style that has got this? Okay, forget already. No, before divergent. Before divergent, convergent, yes, before convergent. Guidance discovery, before guidance discovery, go on. So what is that? Inclusion, yeah, what happened? Alright, so inclusion means what? I recognize that in my class, I've got people of differing abilities. Right? So what do I do to ensure that everybody is engaged? Right? It cannot be, this fella is lousy, okay, never mind, you lousy, you sit aside. Huh? Those who are better, then can do it. No, right? We want to practice inclusion, so we differentiate our activities. Again, this contributes towards good practices and positive learning environment. Okay? Maximize opportunities for all students to be successful. Yeah. Yes.
Just check with you, right? If you're talking about inclusiveness, right? Does it mean that you include
Very good question. Before I answer, I want to throw it back to you guys. Okay, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. What do you think? In being inclusive, does it mean that I should be putting a weak and a strong swimmer together?
If the skill is not too far apart, I think it can still be done. If it's extreme cold, then probably not.
What do you think? Others?
I think it's good to have occasionally to motivate the weaker swimmer, and maybe the stronger one will help to give some tips or like.
So how do I make that good point? How do I make that intentional? Such that it challenges them, even though they are so far apart. And in fact, you can challenge them so that it builds that positive culture. What can you do?
Actually, my concern is that I have very strong swimmers who don't really like the weak swimmers to be swimming with them because they feel that when I put them together, they will feel that they are slowing them down. So instead of helping them, my weaker swimmers feel that it causes actually the division actually got bigger because they feel that I'll never be able to catch up really then the stronger swimmers y'all damn slow I cannot even, y'all just slow us down.
So you do not want that to perpetuate, right?
So even if I split them up, right, they will think that this is a weak team. This is a weak team. If you weak into that, this is the strong team, but you will never make it to the strong team. Even though the coaches always say that it's okay if you work hard, right? You know we will move you up. We will move you up. But I find it very difficult as a coach to create this inclusiveness and motivation for the weaker swimmers and not let the stronger swimmers look down at them and not want to train with them.
There would be, okay, I will invite the senior coaches to share your thoughts in a short while, but to me, you should look at opportunities where they can be together, mixed ability, and also opportunities where they will be on their own. Because you put the similar abilities together. So it doesn't have to be all the weak together and then the strong together. So one example would be, if I ask them to swim laps, then the strong group can only use arms. Then the not so strong group, they can use arms and legs. So then the pace will be quite similar, right? Because one only can use the arms. In a sort of race or a fun competitive relay setting, you can mix the strong and the weak.
Then they got very, very upset.
Yeah, because why?
Because it slows them down more.
Yeah. But if I spread, so every team.
I put orange, right? So you have to mix.
So first swimmer, all the not so strong ones, bang, they go in the water. Then the second swimmer, all the strong ones. So if my weak swimmer comes back slow, then as a strong swimmer, I know I have to catch up because the other strong swimmer is coming in already in the water. So I then have to push and challenge myself.
Yeah, that's the thing. They get very upset. Why you come so slow? Then they will quarrel, then they will fight.
So, I mean, the young, to me, the minds can be shaped easily or easier compared to the older ones. So those are some of the things that you want to cultivate. So if you address it right from the start and acknowledge that in any group setting, there are bound to be people who are stronger and people who are not so strong. So with great strength and power comes great responsibility. So you have to help the others because we're part of the team. So it will make them feel that we are all a team. Whether you are strong or not so strong, we're all part of the team. So I think there are opportunities for you to pick that up. Jim, thoughts? Carol, thoughts?
I think, okay, for the inclusiveness part, right, I think it doesn't relate back to the previous lesson because I think the inclusive, you need to come for that lesson, okay, because that's one of the teaching style. Yeah, but I mean, I'm just telling you that that's one of the teaching styles. So as a coach, how do you vary the task difficulty such that any swimmer of any ability can participate at their own pace. That's the whole teaching style. So, but your definition of inclusiveness here is forming a group. So, which ties back to the lesson today on positive culture. So yes, I think in every team, I mean, I have teams myself that we have the strong, competitive swimmers or people with background versus those who learn to swim per se and then they swim together. But I think ultimately it goes back to your culture. How do you as a coach lead this? Because in a sense, if you say, I only value, like the point you brought up earlier just now, if I show favoritism, if I value only the ones who are fast, then yes, your swimmers will take after you and go, the weak ones, they are a burden to the team. So I think your team cohesiveness needs to be there, and how do we do it? So I think it's the spirit of doing your best. Okay, so it's not about winning, it's not about results, but the putting in effort part. So I think if they can see that, then I think it's easier for to form that culture. So it's not about the stronger swimmers are valued because they are strong. Okay, so so I think other than that, everything else is a strategy. Like, so what I do will be the weaker swimmer will swim freestyle, the stronger swimmer will swim anything non-free, and then they swim along the same the same timing, so then they can swim together. So I purposely pair them up. Also, I put my weak swimmer with fins, and then maybe my strong swimmer with a parachute, and then I go race. Okay, so you mix and match, so they won't think that, I'm strong, I will always be strong. There will always be someone who's like stronger or better than them. Yeah.
So you're challenging the stronger ones with some other things, and you're also aiding the slower ones by doing something else for them. Jin?
Okay, maybe I'll just give you a practical stuff of what I do for inclusiveness. For inclusiveness, 2 ways. I learn to swim. When I learn the swimmers, I will group them into Ha-Ma-La. Ha is high ability, middle ability, and then low ability. And usually in a class of 10, I will have that. Okay, so generally what they're doing, like say today I was actually teaching freestyle. So after a while, I figured out that this guy is not too confident. So my non-confident ones, I put them in the shallower end, and the more confident ones over on this side. And those who are pretty good, I told the good ones, I said, hey, you guys go to two lanes away, okay? This group over here, you're just gonna be 1 lane away. Okay, everybody ready? Go. So they started at the same time, but this guy had more distance, and this guy had shorter distance, but they finished at the same time. So they're very happy. And then I could actually see all of them encouraging, come on, you can do it, you can do it. It was really cool, okay? So that was for my inclusiveness. So you do a staggered start, but everybody's doing the same thing. They don't do something different, and you don't crack your brain also. So I just went by distances. If you're talking about the swim improved people, that means those who are training and going into competitive, what we do is, okay, you've got about 10 minutes, you know that you got 10 minutes to do this whole set. Okay, so you know that this group is going to hit 10 times 100. This group can only hit maybe 8 by 100 at the same time. So I give them a set. They know that this is what they're supposed to achieve. Okay, but we know this group is a better swimmer. This group is not so strong swimmer. But we'll do things out of the water as well. And you notice that, hey, these guys are actually better at something. So I tell them, hey, sometimes people are good at math. Some people are good at art. Same thing, right? You're good at freestyle, this person is better at breast. So we cannot say that, oh, you're actually stronger, you're slower. Like, okay, for me in elite training, I was always out in lane 8. Okay, like Junie Sung and all those people was like lane 4. Okay, all I do was breathe their waves, Okay, and then, so it's like, she was like, and then she'll finish 30. I was like, 24, I was pretty happy with that. But out of the water, we were good friends. And then we go and see a show and that kind of stuff. And we gelled together as a team. And after training, coach would make us all go and eat together, especially Sunday breakfast. And we would actually sit down and have breakfast together. And everybody had no choice but to eat chicken feet, because coach said that chicken feet would make you swim faster. So then we all grew, we had a culture of eating chicken feet. Yeah, so that was how we brought about culture, differentiation, and inclusiveness.
So those are examples, and I think it has to be deliberate on your part. has to start from when a person joins you. And if you continue to build that culture, then it might come to a stage where your group is well known around the neighborhood or around the condos, the nearby, for a team that's inclusive, a team that's strong, and parents will want to send all their kids there to your place. So those are the things that we want you guys to do. Yeah, at least think about it. So inclusiveness, maximize opportunities for all students to be successful, related to what we just talked about just now. Yeah? Establish good parents, good relationship with parents, and because they're part of the sporting community. Okay? So these are really some examples of good practices. Parent orientation program. So the parent comes to you, they say, okay, I want to send my son or my daughter to learn swimming. What do we do? So sharing objectives, mutually agreed upon, introduce yourself, and particularly important your coaching philosophy. That's why the starting module is about philosophy. You need to be able to understand what am I strongly, what do I believe strongly, what's my beliefs, what's my coaching philosophy. Yeah. So if your philosophy is about working together, then if the parent really says, my son is elite, then that's fine. You can take your son elsewhere. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. Information about nature, sport, and particularly here, right? For those who have attended the risk assessment, we know the amount of risk there is in swimming, so we need to identify that for them. You don't go and disturb your kids when I'm teaching and things like that. So we need to set the ground rules, not just for students, but also the parents. Yeah. But we had an issue recently about a swimming coach who has a rule that says parents cannot watch him coach the kids. And then there was one day where the parents came down late, and then the kid almost drowned, got into trouble because the parents were not there yet, and the coach was talking to some other adult. So they noticed that the kids were monkeying around, put somewhere in the water and struggled. And the parents straight away take the kid out of the swimming class, ask for refund. So be careful about that. Okay. Expectations of parents, so this is what related to what I said, opportunities for parents to express any concerns, establish clear lines of communication between you and the parents, keeping them informed, keeping them, get them involved, and so on. Right. So, in terms of communication and interaction officials, I talked about how once you start bringing them for competition, then there will be the interaction with officials, right? The judges and so on. So what are some of the things that we need to be thinking about all this? Yeah. So if we activate those negative behaviors, it becomes a distraction. Then officials themselves lose concentration on the game because you're always shouting, you're lousy and all that, right? And therefore you will get unfavorable calls because the officials will say every time they see you, this Aiden every time complain against us. So then the perception is formed already. So you don't want that. So we want to maintain that good positive behaviors and therefore good relationship with even officials. If you have opportunities to contact, to be in contact with officials. If not, then it's just you, the students, and the parents. Okay. So group development and management is the next one, but we're just going to take a short 5 minutes break. Go to the toilet if you need to. Come back here and we talk about how we form the groups. All right. I like the questions and the chatter and what was brought up during the break. And I want to begin by asking Angel to repeat the question you asked me.
Like just now you had mentioned that for culture, right, it's good to start from the beginning to build on culture. But what about, let's say I'm coaching now, I do not have any culture in place. Then out of nowhere, how am I going to bring that culture in? Because it's quite awkward.
So I can see that Angel has been inspired by today's session so far on positive culture, that she wants to start right now with a swimming group. So the next day then she say, all right everyone, House rules, right? From today onwards, this is what we're going to do. Okay, what's happening? You know? Alright, so is there a different way to do it? Of course you can. You can say that, hey, you know, yesterday I attended this class and I'm just wondering what do you think of our swim team? What do you think of our group? So they will start talking, right? So from there it gives you an opportunity for say, shall we try to do things a little bit different and better? Can we have a team cheer? Things like that. So it doesn't therefore have to be awkward anymore. Right? So you just weave it in this way. Right? Nothing wrong with saying, hey, look, and even if the parents hear you, that, hey, I attended a class yesterday and I had some good takeaways and I want to try it with our team. You know? I think we can become a lot stronger, a lot better. Parents here, so they'll say, this teacher go for professional development, going to enhance her skills and knowledge. Yeah? So that's the one way which you can do it. The second point is Yu Chang's point, right? And I've been teaching and coaching for more than 20 years, and a large part of it is training PE teachers. This one, novice PE teachers, very good at establishing rules, but not very good at enforcing it. So I establish all this, and then when somebody does something that goes against this, I don't enforce, I don't say anything. In fact, sometimes they pretend to look away because they don't want to deal with it. Right? So when you don't want to deal with it or you don't deal with it, everybody else sees it, right? Then they'll say, teacher says like that, but actually he's okay with it. Then becomes a problem. After a while, this one doesn't matter anymore. Right? So we talk about a weak student not giving effort, right? Not putting in effort. Remember? So you also need to interject, you also need to intervene. Not just the strong swimmer thinking that he's far superior from the rest, but even the weak swimmer who doesn't put in the effort, you also want to address that. Yeah? And I give you an example of our Active SG Football Academy. And we've got a lot of academies, as you know. The Football Academy or Active SG have got whole 3 values strongly. What are they? Do you know? Anybody heard of Active SG Academy? You don't know? So under Sport SG, we have this Active SG, Football Academy, Basketball Academy, Athletics Academy. Yeah? And typically it's joined by those who don't quite make the football team in school, so they come and join the Football Academy here. And we believe of the values that we put down is honor, respect, right, and teamwork. And before they start the session, they all come together, put their hands together, honor, respect, or resilience, sorry. Honor, resilience, teamwork, activity, yeah, like that. At the end of the session, they have a magic finger activity. Alright, today, my magic finger goes to the man of the match, Bushi. And do you know why I chose Bushi as the man of the match today? Because when he fell down, he got up and he went again and chased after the player. So I'm not picking him because he scored the most goals. I'm picking him because he showed good values. Then your students will be thinking, okay, the definition of success is picking up yourself, working together as a team, not just being fast or not just scoring more goals. So you're changing, you're shaping their behavior, right? Okay. So sometimes they call it assessment drives behavior, or what you reward, your reward system drives behavior. So those are the things that you want to be thinking about. Okay? Coming together is the beginning, Henry Ford says. Keeping together is progress, working together is success. So the key to group development and management will be understanding this. Right? So there are a couple of stuff here with regard to factors that affect sports group, and your swimming group is considered a sports group. And these are the 4, right? Identity, goals, norms, and roles. What are identity? Personal, which is the character traits and attributes, and social, group affiliation and characteristics. In the context of swimming, therefore, how do I define or how do I understand this? And remember, these are the factors that affect sport food. And of course, in turn, it helps to shape the culture. Character traits and attributes. What does it mean for me as a swim coach? And what I need to do, therefore, in terms of things like this. So I drop a pin, I can hear, even on a carpet. Personal, character traits and attributes. We talk about relationship, so we need to understand the students very well. Right? So we need to take time, therefore, to find out about them. And I've seen some coaches, especially when new fellas come along, they don't welcome them into the group. They don't know their names, so they will call, "Oi, that boy there, come here." Straight away, because they're not using names, it affects the culture, right? It affects the environment and the climate. Okay, social will be, so that's personal. Social will be group affiliation. In your group, do you sponsor swim caps to your team? If you do, then that's a sense of identity, right? Or all these swimmers from this group all a special cap, or you got special T-shirt, right? So you build that group affiliation, right, and build therefore that identity. All this contributes towards the group development and therefore the positive culture. All right. Goals. Individual goals and their group goals. So what would be our group goals as an example? Just like what I've just shared with you about ActiveSG. We want to be known as a team that has got honor, resilience and teamwork. Right? Or you can have whatever goals in place for your team, and those goals are typically connected to what? If you choose honor, if you choose teamwork, if you choose resilience, if you choose hardworking, why would you choose those values? It must be connected to your module 1, your beliefs and philosophy, right? Okay, so that's how you are translating your beliefs and philosophy to the things that you do, your practices, your coaching practices. Yeah. So those are the group goals. You want to be known as that. Individual, so they are all in these individual goals that you can identify, and then you tell them what is the importance, right? And where is the possibility for them to exhibit those values or those goals, and so on. Yeah. All right. So when it comes to goal setting, you guys know about SMART. What is SMART? Specific, measurable. Anyone? Okay, Carol, you share.
Oh, no, I didn't understand. So what does S stand for?
Specific.
Specific. Versus? If it's not specific, is?
General.
So give me an example of a specific goal. Something that you would set. Be it a group goal or an individual goal.
100 meters, 13 seconds.
Sorry?
100 meters, 13 seconds.
Okay, 100 meters, 13 seconds. Running, okay. Then if it's a general goal, how would it sound like?
Okay, let's make it swimming specific.
So okay, 29 seconds, 50 from 50.
Okay, so you're being specific. But if you're being general?
Swim faster.
Swim faster. Yeah, okay. Swim faster, swim longer. All these are very general. What is M?
Measurable.
Measurable. So in swimming, what do we measure?
Distance.
Timing, speed, what else? Distance. Okay. So again, if it's not measurable, how do we compare whether someone has truly improved or not, right? Okay,
how do you measure honor? How do you, sorry?
If it cannot be measured, then don't use it as a goal.
So we just said that our team is honor, resilient teamwork. How to measure? Okay, let's drop the honor. We just do T is not teamwork, T is timing. So 9 seconds. Can we measure teamwork? Observable behavior. Right? I can put it that way, right? How do I measure? I look at you, and this is the behavior that relates to honor. This is the behavior that relates to teamwork, and I will reward you for it. Right? So you can measure certain things. It doesn't have to be in terms of timing or in terms of distance, but there are other ways in which you can measure them. Yeah. Right?
So what's A? Yeah, I'm not providing answers. You are.
Achievable.
Achievable? Okay, what does it mean by achievable?
Possible.
Something can be achievable. Then what's the, okay, achievable to who? So who must set this
The
to the
athlete.
team? To the athlete, okay, so usually it's through a discussion between the goals set by both the coach and the athlete. Okay, R?
Okay, sorry, before that, what is ZPD? For those who attended the previous lesson, very good, was it?
Zone of proximal development.
So what does zone of proximal development have to do with the A part?
Within their limits.
Sorry?
To achieve something that is within what they are capable of, and
Right,
not
so
something that's
Carol mentioned about it has to be a conversation between you and the athlete or the swimmer or the child. So it cannot be so unrealistic, right? That is, the zone of proximal development is way too far, right? Not realistic. So it has to be something that challenges them, right? But still realistic and therefore achievable target, right? So that's an integral part of the objective.
So it links to the R. So what is R?
Realistic.
Realistic? Then how is that attainable? Isn't it the same? R?
It's in your notes, by the way.
Relevance. What do you understand by relevance?
If you're coaching a swimmer, then it's something to do with swimming.
Well, yes, in a broad general sense.
It's like
yes.
saying that it's like saying that cycling, you can tone up your muscles. It's not relevant. It's that I do bodybuilding for cyclists, but it's not relevant. It's not relevant. It's that lean.
Yeah, so in a broad general sense, yes, but relevant to who? To the athlete. So it ties back to the A, the attainable. Is it relevant? Okay, I mean, is it something that you and your athlete have agreed on, right?
Yeah. So can it be things outside of water for it to be relevant? If we say not possible, that means every time it rains, you can't do anything else. Right? So what are some of the things they can do out of water? Yeah, like what? Strength building. Okay, how can that be specific so that it can therefore transfer to you becoming a stronger swimmer? Let's say for young kids, I'm not talking about elite swimmers.
Some basic static exercises.
Tactics? What tactics?
Static exercises.
Like what? That can help me for swimmers. And the rest can jump in, huh?
That group over there very quiet.
Squats.
Squats? Moving on the core.
So you can work on the core, you can maintain that streamlined position, right? So if you do planks or whatever, so that can be done on land. That translates to, yeah. And it can be specific as well as relevant. You can keep the time measurable, how long they can hold the plank, right? The core. Okay. And then T.
Timeline. So why is timeline or why is it important?
5 years to keep the goal, right?
Well, depending on what the goal is, right?
One Olympic cycle in 4 years. Joseph Schooling thinks Tokyo after the Rio.
Yeah, but why is time important? What's the opposite of it if you don't have a timeline to it?
Unable to pace out properly.
Okay? What do you mean by unable to pace out properly? So there is no urgency, right? If I say at some point in time I was doing 29 seconds, maybe not tomorrow, maybe next year, 10 years later, 20 years later. So no, there's no urgency and there's no point. I mean, your goal setting would have failed, right? Okay, so the time is very important. But our goals fixed, cast in stone. If you say in 1 year's time, I have to hit 29 seconds, and then if you don't hit, how?
Next year.
What do? Our goal is supposed to be cast in stone.
Next year.
Then what will you do? Okay, so when do you review?
Actually, you review it like from time to time.
Yeah.
To see whether the person is actually making any improvements with the goal set initially.
Okay, so before you review time to time, what do you need in place? I mean, tell me about your goals.
You need to plan, like, for example, if it's a 1 year thing, then you need to plan like what you're gonna do for the like micro plan. Like what is the like first 3 months what you're gonna do? Are you gonna do strength training? And then after that, during maybe pre-comp period, are you gonna do stamina training? And after which, yeah. So within this one, you need to have a mini goal out of each of these, so that you can tell whether the person is actually benefiting from, for example, strength training is. So maybe the person has very weak arm. So you want to do pulls, right? So maybe you say, okay, I want you to do the rowing machine. Set a certain like maybe 30 minutes, you must do 100 sets at time. So it should show an increase. You should show an improvement for that 3 months.
Okay.
So if it doesn't, then so every time you finish meeting, you need to review your basically.
Okay. So I think what she's trying to say is there's a long-term goal, but you don't wait until 1 year and go, and then I hit my 29 seconds. Never mind, next year. Okay? So I think you need to set short-term goals. Okay, is what you're saying, and then you see how far away are you from your long-term goal, right? And if it's not achievable, okay, then you might need to reset your goal again, okay, and again make it SMART. So it still has to be attainable, okay, based on your review, your continual review of your goals.
In fact, even if you set a goal that is within 6 months period, you can tell through other measures along the way that I think I need to relook at that. 2 months down the road, I already can say at this rate I may not be able to achieve that. So let's make it a bit more realistic, or we keep it that way, but I need to do something else in my training program. Right? So those are the things that, as a good coach, you need to be thinking through. So sometimes, whilst it's good to look at the final goals, you must also start thinking, what do I need to do to get there? So it's not just about focusing on that final goal that you set or the long-term goal that you set for yourself. Right? So if I ask you to attempt to win a race, Simone, will you be focusing on winning the race? So I say, okay, I know I'm confident you can beat Joseph Schooling. So I set you the target. When you jump into the pool, are you going to be thinking, I'm going to beat Joseph Schooling? Just to give you an analogy about goal setting. Do you think that way? That I'm going to beat him? But your training time suggests you can beat Joseph. But do you think of the long-term goal all the time? Really? You have that in mind, you want to do well, but you got to be thinking about what you need to do now. So sometimes, or in the growth mindset, I think it's something a little bit different, something outside of this, but I think it's connected to the SMART thing. And that's about, if you want to win, W-I-N, you need to be thinking about what's important now. W-I-N, what's important now. So since we're talking about Joseph Schooling, if you see him speaking, In an interview, he doesn't say, I go in, I know I'm going to win the race. He will say he's focusing on getting off the blocks quick and then making a good first 50 maybe. So he talks about what's important at that point in time now. What's important now? I need to focus on my starts off the block. Then I need to work on my first 50. So similarly, when you have the SMART goals, yes, you have that time base, and that's the long-term goal. But there must be some focus in between to get you there. So what is that focus? You are the ones who are going to be setting that for your athlete or for your swimmer. Work on the arm pulls first. Work on the leg kick first. Right? And once you put that all together, we can achieve that 29 seconds of 100 meters in a few months' time. Alright? Ken? Clear on that? Smart? Okay. Anything to add? No? Okay. Norms. So this is pretty much related to what you guys have put down in terms of group behavior, in terms of standards and the shared expectations. So this is what you want to establish. Again, it links to or it affects the group and it builds the positive culture there. Alright? So that's the norm. And then finally, roles. Mutually agreed upon roles and responsibilities. In your swimming group or group of 5 swimmers, for example, what would you say are roles and responsibilities you can put in place? What do you think? Because all this help or affect the group and therefore can be opportunities to build that culture. Very good. So what's that? Wow. 5 fellas, captain, vice captain. Maybe. What other examples? Captain, vice captain, then these 3 other fellas got no position. Treasurer, secretary. So the stronger can guide the weaker ones, then you always bank on the stronger ones, right? Come on, think a bit more, role abilities. You're not quite wrong, but how do I... Captain and vice captain will be what? What would that be? Captain and vice captain, what are they? Huh? Leaders, right? Must I always appoint him? So for today's lesson, Aiden is our team leader. Next lesson, Alicia will be our leader. She will lead our team in the warm-up, for example, or the stretch that we're doing. Alright? So these are the things that help to gel the group together. It affects the team and can be used to develop a positive culture, right? Okay. So today, Reham, right, will be the chief logistics officer, whatever you want to call it. He collect all the equipment, all the kickboards and all that, so he will take care of that. Right? Next day somebody else, or next training session somebody else. So you're giving them roles and responsibilities. Yeah? Then they feel part of the group. So even though he is not the strongest swimmer, but he has the opportunity to be there and he leads the session or the lead the warm-up or whatever. Lead in the cheer, something simple like that. So everybody has got a role to play, then everybody is important in your team. Alright? Again, it goes back to building that positive culture. Okay? So I just want you to take some time, since we talked about all this, write some of these things down for you in terms of what you want to do. Right? I give you about 5 minutes or so. It's on page 9. Yeah? Again, this will help you do that final assignment for tonight. Yeah? Standing down. Okay, I'm really going to do this. These are important. This is what I'm going to be doing. And whatever you do has to be linked to your own coaching philosophy and your coaching belief. If it's not linked to that, I tell you there will not be any conviction. So it has to be coming from you. Okay? Alright. So those were the internal factors, and if you have internal, then there are also external factors. So for external factors, there are two things, right? Two areas. One is social reality, and second is social rewards. What do we understand by social reality, and what do we understand by social rewards? The first one first, anyone? Social reality. What does it mean? Sorry? Social reality is a common belief. Example? That would be the reality. Let's say I'm taking a group for the first time. What's the social reality? Awkwardness? Because they don't know anybody, right? Okay. What else about social reality that you can make assumptions of?
People from all walks of life and background.
Okay.
So we have to find ways to gel them.
Yeah. So that's where
to find a common ground.
Find common ground. And there's a bit of buzz recently about the Channel News Asia did a documentary about, privilege, right? Class division and so on, right? And that's the reality, right? So that's social reality in Singapore. And if you teach in a condo, your mix, the social reality of the group is different, right? And that will affect your entire team culture, right? Versus if you were to run a class in the neighborhood swimming pool, then the people coming to you might be a bit more varied, perhaps not really coming from well-to-do families. If you teach in a condo, likely to be quite high SES, right? Socio-economic status. So that's the social reality that we need to know. Then if we know that, then we can do something about it. We know what things we can put in place in order for them to be a strong team, or in order for our team to have a strong culture. Right? So that's social reality. Questions on that? Yeah, it can be a mindset. It can be what they are programmed to think or how they think. And it can be shaped, for young kids, it's probably shaped by who? Shaped by the parents, shaped by friends, shaped by school, right? The teachers, right? So these are the people that influence the person, right? So that's what we need to understand the social reality. Right? Social rewards. Huh? Recognition. So we are a meritocratic society, so we also want to recognize. So what is going to be one of my social rewards, or what is going to be one of your social rewards? You People know you're famous. I know you're famous, but let's talk about the group, the swimmers. What kind of rewards? Okay, but if we're teaching in a context of where you're going to be likely operating at, which is not the elite fellas, what are the social rewards you want to put in place? We talk about the first one, right? You in your group of swimmers at Safra swimming pool, for example, it's going to be different than composition. So that's the social reality. So if I can recognize that, I understand that this group has got this social reality, that's the reality. Then what do I do with them so that I can develop this positive culture? What rules do I put in place? What norms, what identity do I put in place in order to strengthen this? Similarly here, what I want you to think about is, what will be the social rewards I want to give, I want to establish, I want to put in place so that it strengthens my culture.
friendship.
Say again?
Friendship.
Friendship. How are you gonna put that in place?
So when you train together, find common ground, empathize with one another, then over there you make friends, and then you build basketball, longer-lasting bonds.
So that is the reward?
That's the reward. It's intangible.
Okay. Once it's tangible, it's very far. And I can't see the kids, the fireworks, kids can't see so far away. So what can be a little, I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm saying what can be a lot more tangible and a lot more close to them. Or a lot more immediate. Say again? Okay, very good. How okay, before I say very good, explain first. Peer recognition, how am I going to do that?
If you as a swimmer, you manage to learn the stroke, your friends will be like, oh wow, good job.
Okay. So how are you going to make it explicit? It's easy to say, you know, if you swim very well, your friends are all going to be happy for you.
Praise him in front of others.
Okay, so I praise him. So today Brandon did very well, right? So in the past he's been swimming, you know, the 100 meters in 25 seconds. Today he did it in 15 seconds. According to Yichow's standard.
What's running?
So is that it? Very good. So if you have a culture, you have norms and all these things, right? You dedicate, let's say, the last 5 minutes. All right, everybody out of the pool. Okay, today was a good session. It was particularly good for Brandon. And let me tell you why. Brandon today swam 100 meters in, what's the time? 23 seconds. And then, if you have established all these social rules in place, everybody believes strongly in that. All of a sudden, immediately, everybody will say, "Oh, Brandon!" Sorry, high five, Brandon! Everybody. So that's it becomes your culture. The social rewards. Am I giving him a medal? No, I'm not. So the reward is just social. So does it contribute to positive culture? Yes. Is it difficult to implement? Not difficult. Right? So those are the things that you want to be thinking about. What are the things you want to put in place in your team? Then another group here with another swimming teacher. All the kids will be distracted looking at your class, because every time the last 5 minutes, everybody's clapping and cheering, and then these kids must be wondering, hey, how come it's so fun that one? Everybody are cheering for each other. Then the next thing you know, all the mummies and daddies of these kids all go to you. And obviously, you feel like a more student. And so how do you want people to see you as a coach and see your team? Right? So these are all important things that we need to understand. Again, this can all be put in the plan that we're asking you to write and submit to us at the end of the okay? Alright. So this one, beliefs of people, individuals to interact with. So we talk about like social class is one, right? Group shared expectation, right? So once you have that, then that becomes something that you have a collective understanding or that shared expectation we talk about, right? Social reality. So this is something you really need to know. That means you need to really understand the group that you're dealing with, okay? And then social rewards is exactly what I said earlier with the examples given, right? Rewards system in social environment. Okay? So again, another 5 minutes. I believe you will have this over right? Okay. So take a few minutes to write it down. So what did I say about social reality, Sebastian? What did I say about social reality?
How individual in the group affects the other individual, and then how they can actually help one another within the group. Instead of, like, reinforce the positive experience within the group?
Yes, it has an effect, but social reality is the reality. I said, in the context of us being a coach to a group of swimmers, the social reality is what? He is Malay, he is Chinese, he is Indian, he stays at condo, he stays at HDB, he pitches a tent at East Coast. But what I'm saying is, they are all different, right? So that's the social reality. So us being the swim coach, because in order to have good, strong, positive culture, we need to understand our swimmers, we need to understand our students, we need to understand our athletes. So I need to know the social reality of this fellow, this fellow, this fellow, in order to come up with something that can gel them together, right? Can I influence the fact that he comes from, he's a Malay, can I change his race? Can I change, he is now staying condo, can I change that? Okay, you go and join him at the 10, that's good. Can I effect that change? I can't, right? So it is really a recognition that I've got this diversity in my group, right? So what do I do to make sure that regardless of race, language, religion, socio-economic status, I want to bring them together. So I can't influence certain things, but I can influence behavior through social rewards. So if I start praising people for, showing humility, like what you said just now, right? Then what is everybody's going to be thinking, especially the young kids? They like to be praised, they like to be, recognized, and publicly praised and publicly recognized. What am I trying to do?
Reinforcing, positive reinforcement.
And also I'm trying to influence the others to show the same level of humility, so that next time I will say, wow, Kang Hao today, humility award, right? Kang Hao today, most valuable swimmer, because he was very, very hardworking. He never gave up, right? So today he wins my most valuable swimmer award. Is it a medal? No, right? It's just a recognition. It's my social reward. So I'm using the social rewards, which is something I create and I can control, to shape the behavior of my students. So in the Active SG Academy example that I gave, we are not training them to win competitions. They didn't come to the academy because they want to win national school title. So there's no stakes. So when there are no stakes, what we want to emphasize can be values. Because we're not preparing them for any competition per se. So is yours high stakes? If you're taking a recreational swimming group? Not really. The only high stake is when they come to you and they leave, they must be able to swim, otherwise the parent won't continue to pay you, right? Yeah. So that even if it's high stakes, what I'm saying is high stakes, you can shape them, right? Okay? This fella here, we keep using him because he's an easy person to talk about because everybody knows him. What do you think of his character? Humble? Does he come from high SES?
Yes.
Above average.
No, very rich. That is the tobacco company.
So, a very rich kid, what is your impression of a very rich kid?
Yes, opportunity.
I know, but in terms of behavior?
Oh, you think Holian?
That's natural tendency for us. Maybe we're jealous about high SES or Holian.
No, that's a tendency. I'm not saying it. There's a tendency.
But what I'm saying, people have certain impression, right? Maybe those impressions are true because we see a lot of people who are rich behaving like that. But is he like that? No.
It's very humble.
So how is it that he's humble? Right?
Sometimes when they are, I think the reporters asking him question and he will ask his teammate to direct the reporters to talk to the teammate and ask them question instead. Because he talk too much. It's like every question is directed to him. But he want the other team member to have something to say as well.
So my guess is, I don't know him well enough, but my guess is from young, and who knows him well now? Jin. Probably when he was young, the coaches that he interacted with, the swimming group that he's been with and club, they have a certain set of values, certain things that they believe in, and everybody in the group, this is what we stand for, right? If you don't like it, you don't believe, you can join another swim club, you can join another swim group. It's okay with me. Jin, anything to add?
Well, my personal experience is his mum checks up with him in terms of his behavior. So one time she'll come to me, oh yeah, did Joseph greet you? I said, yeah. No, I'm going to give it to him and he better greet you. You know, that sort of thing. So she makes sure that he says his P's and Q's and yeah, that he's very respectful.
Yeah. So, good evening, Michelle. Good evening, Michelle.
Oh, good evening.
I'm forcing her to, what? Do a certain behavior, right? So as coach, you can influence especially the young kids' behavior very easily, right? Through you role modeling. So if you greet every single person as they come to you, your kids will also greet you, right? And then if they don't greet you, hey, Chen, you don't remember me anymore, is it? How come you come and never greet me? Hey, good evening, Azra. Right, so it doesn't have to be, hey, never greet me, later you do 50. So it's about how you use all this to influence the behavior in a positive way. Because then everybody comes to you, great, and then you help you build this positive culture, right? Regardless of Malay staying at condo, Indian staying at the tent, I was inspired by your coconut tree theory. Alright, are we clear about this? So the social rewards is something that you can control. And when you do that, you will influence the behavior of your swimmers. And if they become better person as a result of that, right, they will become better swimmers. Anybody fans of New Zealand All Blacks, the rugby team? Their belief is better people make better All Blacks. All Blacks is a rugby team. So better people make better All Blacks. So the first and foremost is better people. If you can't be a good person, then we don't want you in the team. No matter how good you are. Right? So you have an opportunity to influence this, or influence behavior through putting in the right kind of social rules. Right? Okay? All clearer now?
Even the social reality part, I think what Azra was trying to say is because everybody is from a different background, okay, so they all have their own beliefs and expectations from whatever based on their own culture and everything. So social reality based on the team, your team culture, that can influence that individual behavior because again because of norms and everything, they will want to follow the norms, so they were more likely to adhere to the culture. But because these factors, both factors are external, you need to know as a coach what you can control and what you cannot control. Okay, so like of course within your team, the social reality within your team, the culture that you set, the rewards that you give, okay, that can affect, that can shape their behavior. Okay?
Yeah. So in fact, if you are smart, you also infuse some of this in your practical coaching assessment. They have all this acknowledgement from your team. Right? As they come in, okay, today I'm going to teach you, let's come and do a team cheer. And we say, oh, this guy is good.
Well, suddenly we'll have a lot of team cheers.
Yeah. What have I done?
Yeah.
What have I done? What did I just do? Huh? I'm telling you there's a reward if you were to do this, right? So what are people going to do, which is what Carol said? Everybody suddenly when you're doing the micro coaching, you have a team cheer. So whatever, I've just shown you that I can use a reward because you know you're going to be assessed, right, by us. So now everybody okay, I'm not looking about this, let me do this. So I'm shaping your behavior already, you know. Right? So I'm giving you an example of how I'm trying to manipulate you that way. Yeah? Okay. So you can easily, I would say use the word manipulate, but you can influence the behavior of your kids in a positive way, right? Even adults. Okay? Yeah. All right. Alson will take us through Tuckman's group development model.
Right, so I believe that we have all understand a lot of the things in regards to having a group, working together with a group and all that. And just to summarize whatever that we have learned today, at the very start when Asa was talking about culture, we started to talk about the people within. So culture in the very beginning, some of you talk about is like practices or behaviors that a group of people have, a certain group of people have, am I right? So to a certain extent, as a coach, as a leader, we have a strong influence on what we want for our team. So for example, Jack just now mentioned that she wants to inculcate inclusiveness within her team, which is not seen yet, and therefore it's very important for us to see then how we want to do it. And just now there was, what's your name, sorry? Behind Yijie is? Angel. Angel was mentioning that, I don't have a culture in my group. I want to have a culture now. But if I were to rephrase it is, there is a culture. But what is the current culture and what would you want the culture to be? Culture can be formed in many, many different ways. So we have people, and different people are different stakeholders. So in the case of a team, right, who are the team or a class, who are the stakeholders that we have? Anyone? Students. Students is one stakeholder. Yes, you did, okay. Okay, name specifically another person that's involved. Okay, the coach or coaches, students, another group of people that are involved in a team.
Hey, we did this already, yeah?
Parents, right? So if we say these are the main people that are involved, everyone has a role to play. The parents, the coach, and the swimmers. We just simplify it to these three. And every one of us will have a specific role and task that we have to do in order to form this culture. Correct? Am I right? So what I'm going to do is, there is this model called the Tuckman's Group Development Model. Anyone heard of this before? You can raise your hands. No? Oh, really no one? Anyone heard of this before? Don't have? Alright, never mind, today you will learn. This is very, very important, okay? So we'll just spend some time to understand a bit more. So in 1977, Tuckman's model came out, and it is very well known in team building, it's very well known in leadership workshop. Why? Because it allows us to understand the process of a team coming together towards a point where they perform in their optimal state. Okay? So if you were to reflect, right, later when I run you through the different stages, you will be able to identify wherever you are or the past groups. I believe we have all been in group works before. Anyone haven't worked in a team before? Raise your hands. Everyone has, right? Okay, so we will know there are moments where you finish a task with your team and you're like, wow, these people are amazing. Alright, and there will be times where you're in a group and say, why am I even here? I don't like all these people, they're not contributing, or everyone is so strong in their character. So the 5 stages over here are, the first one is forming, when people come together. Second one is in your notes. What is the second stage? Storming. Alright, from the word you understand, it's coming together, there might be some storm, difficulty. Third one? Norming. And fourth? Performing. And the fifth is something that people don't look at a lot. What is that? Adjourning, right? Just give you a very brief summary of what it is. The first one is forming, when we get a team together, different people, different backgrounds, different experiences coming together for the very first time. Like today, a lot of us don't know each other, right? So when you first come into the environment like this, what are some of the things that comes in your head?
You look for people that you know.
Alright, you look for people that you know, number 1. Okay? 2, if there are no one that you know, what are the different behaviors that we will have? Alright, 5 common traits and similarities, yes. Or, so if I want to find common traits or similarities, I have to communicate, right? Or I just be quiet and stay at the wall and just don't do anything, look at the phone. You get me? Right, so this is the forming stage. People come together with different personalities, different behaviors. Okay, so we try to find either someone that we know when there's commonality, and then there's a small group that's formed, or we just stay aside. Okay, so this is the very beginning when people are starting to come together. Next is storming. Alright, likened to a storm, there's rain and everything. So in this part now, we know that everyone in the team has a role to play, correct? So storming is where, if I put you all in a group work and I say that you have to finish this assignment in 2 weeks and everyone will be assigned to do the work together, at the end of it there will be a peer evaluation. How then would you see that coming out? And then I will say that the team leader that contributed the most will have 10% more. What's going to happen then? Conflict? Why? Because of the extra mark. Like what Asa said just now, there's a social reward, right? Everyone is fighting towards that. Any other things that will cause conflict or whatever? People at the back here, very quiet.
Someone wants to be in charge.
Alright, someone wants to be in charge. So when we have people that are strong in character, when they come, naturally they will want to step up and shine. So if we have 2 or 3 people that are very strong, it means that the possibility of conflict is there, right? So storming is a point where you start to know each other and you start to want to find a clear point where you can stand confidently and know that that's your role. Okay, I will liken it to Legos. Alright, if there's a set of Legos here and I say the end point is to build a ship. Alright, so all the Legos will be all around the place, right? But if we know specifically where we stand and where we are able to fit the Lego, we'll be fine. Storming is the stage where people is finding that space and role. Okay? Next we move on to the third one. What's the third one? Norming. Okay, when we start to know each other, we know each other's strengths and flaws, we start to be okay with each other, we learn to work with each other, we learn to perhaps, there are some flaws or inconsistency in some people. The norm part is where the storm is over, things are seemingly okay. Is this the stage that you want your team to be in then? Why? Comfortable, complacent. Alright, as a coach, we mentioned that we want our students to be just doing okay or you want your students to perform well? Who wants your students to perform well? Raise your hand. Who are just okay with the students being mediocre? Alright, it's good because if we want to build a positive culture, it's very important for us to be able to bring up the potential of our students and our learners, right? So at this stage is the point where we see how then we can enhance the performance of the team. Is swimming a sport that is very team oriented? No one. You think no, right? And then at which part then it's required for us to have a team then? Relays. Is it possible to train as an individual athlete? Yes? No? Okay, please elaborate further then. You said no, right? Okay, why no?
During like normal training, let's say you're training alone in the sport, you see because swimming you will feel more motivated. You still know they are not doing.
Alright, so we said that swimming is an individual, it can be an individual sport, it's not very much teamwork. But then, if you train alone, the tendency of being bored, there's no one training together with you, you will feel you lose motivation and whatnot. Why is it a team sport, you would say?
I was saying that you can actually train alone.
Oh, you say you can train alone, okay.
Yeah, because that's why we always have those parents asking for one-to-one lesson, because you want to train alone. You get more time with the coach, you get better time for all your stroke correction, and then your undivided attention of the coach. Yeah, so even your advice is actually more personalized to the one athlete as well. So I would think that actually you can train alone for swimming.
Yeah, I agree there are pros and cons, right? So it's very important for us to then understand what's the role of a group or a team or club then in the sport swimming. Alright, in a club where we have swimmers of different abilities, but together when there are club competitions, you're able to go, there's a place that you can identify yourself with, you can train together, and when you have two strong athletes training head to head with each other, they actually pushes each other forward, am I right? Okay, so now I want to bring you to a short discussion. We have performing, And lastly is a journey. So before I go there, I want you to reflect on, maybe within your group, I want you to discuss, think about a specific situation or a group moment when you had, where your team were doing very well or not so well, and share the experience. Name out why was the team doing well or not so well. Okay? To save time, we have 4 teams, right? So these 2 teams will talk about experiences where you have a group where you were functioning really, really well, possibly at the performing stage. Alright, and then name out the characteristics of why you think it was. And this 2 team will talk about moments where you remember where the team was not doing so well. And then you share the experience and then name out the characteristics why it wasn't functioning very well. Okay, we take about 5 minutes to do that. Everyone with the determining factor, right?
Okay.
Okay, we'll start from...
So for mine is during my holidays, we will have competitions now. So alright. What's the topic again?
You all had a lot of chats, huh? Basically, share with us one experience that you had where the group was performing very well, and what was the main characteristic?
Oh, okay. What I think most important is as a team, you have trust within everybody. It's like you don't go and blame lah. Be it just for me during my holidays I play water polo. So usually, because in a game, I mean, you won't be able to communicate straight away. So, but basically, if you see someone make a move, you don't question, you just support. So if all fails, then just forget it lah. I mean, look for the next stage.
So it came to a point where you guys were functioning so well where you don't have to communicate so much and you would know the next move of your teammate.
You do shout to sound off, but you don't go about, hey, why you go, and then just go lah. So that's some of the difference you see in other teams whereby they will say, hey, why you shoot? I mean, no point lah. Shoot it, just look forward to it.
Alright, very good. So they mentioned trust. One of the main points as they develop and they move further within the development model, trust is very important. So working together and accepting one another, right? Regardless, forming and moving forward together as a team, that's very important. Okay, next group.
So in terms of traits, we felt that it starts by having a common goal. So everyone must be clear what we're trying to achieve as a team. And then from there, you get a good understanding of what are your strengths and weaknesses as an individual, right? And then from there, you derive clear roles and responsibilities. And then you must have open communication within the team. So there must be, you must allow opposing views to surface and be resolved within the team. There must be clear two-way communication between the team members and also between the athletes and the coach.
All right, communication is very, very important, I agree. Communication, having a clear goal. So like we say, swimming is a sport that's very individual, but yet it functions very much in clubs, in teams, right? So from the moment where we come together as individual towards the point that you're performing, right? From individual goal, just now we talk about SMART, there's also the bigger goal, where the club, how we want to clinch how many goals, silver, and as an individual, you want to work towards that in doing your part. Am I right? So the communication is very important, correct? Within the athlete, among the athletes, within the athlete and the coach, the athlete, and the parents as well. So if the parents say, oh, exam is coming, but there's a meet, I don't want to send my children for training, can perform now, don't worry, can perform. So do you think it's going to work? No, right? But it's only the point where everyone sees the big picture together. Okay, that's what you all mentioned. Okay, over here we explore the part where things didn't go so well. What were the reasons? Someone share.
So like we mentioned a few traits. So the first is so are you willing to whether the teammates are willing to commit time to do like a project? Then the second one is
then when we have a competition coming up, then not everyone has the commitment and time or put in the effort to come for training. And then like probably there is some relays that we can actually train on, like definition, the person touch over and person plunging to swim. That little thing also make up a lot. And next is also if the person, like if the athletes never come for a training, they also never really get positive feedbacks from the coach, which also result to the performance not really, like not performing well in the competition.
Okay, so commitment is very important. From a coach perspective, then how then can we pick out such not so positive behaviors or traits, and how then can we influence within our control in helping such individuals come back on board the team's track towards our goal, correct? Okay, the last group.
So for us, right, I talk about like personal experience lah. Like basically my swim team, we had one case where our captain was trying to micromanage everyone. So like he's saying, oh, do this, do that, even though like, okay, in our words, it's like he's not competent enough to like tell us, oh, you all should do this instead of the other way. So then a lot of the teammates got annoyed with him, so we all just split up lah. So some went to train in other like polys, pool, and then some of them later for training, and some go and join some other CCA. Like the only thing in mind was like, oh, competition, I just to be there. So on the competition that day, right, we went to basically we had our competition. Then after we just left. So that means we finished our event. We didn't show anyone else. We just left. So like some of the teammates feedback that there was like no bond within our team, cause everyone just wanted to get it over and done with. So yeah, then I think that thing only got resolved after our captain.
Did the team perform during that specific meet?
No, we did quite badly.
Yeah, so we can see also the importance of coming together and seeing the common vision, the importance of a leader. And as a coach, it's very important for us to be able to really have control and understanding, not micromanaging, but being able to know specifically where each of your members stands. Alright, the last one is adjourning. Alright, this is quite interesting. It's not commonly mentioned or spoken about. Adjourning is a point where when your team comes to the completion of a project or completion of a specific meet and where they have to go separate ways. Alright, and it is our role, and we know as coach also, more than just teaching or coaching a specific skill, it is about developing character, instilling values, and these are very important things. So this is the point where they start to go their separate ways, and how then can we bring the best out of this experience? A lot of times people create moments of celebration, right? Where you acknowledge everyone for their contribution. Okay, the time when you sing like as we go, or create those memorable moments, emotional moments, and this is very important. Why? Because at the end of it, you want to seal the entire experience well. So as they move forward in life, they are able to draw from the learning experience, okay, and they become a better person. And eventually, at points where they start meeting each other again, you know that you have helped to forge a very strong friendship. Okay, so the next question that I have for you to think about now is how then can we increase our chances of success in building a high-performing team? Okay, so in whatever that we do, we want to do well, build a positive culture and everything. So this is how the model is. At the forming stage, everyone come in with what they have. We might dip in the effectiveness where we are finding our place. There might be repetition of roles, quarrels and everything. But if it's well managed, we'll start to norm where everyone comes together properly. Yeah, you will know what are the roles that you have, you know what you need to do. But if we stay here for too long, we become complacent. We will be like, I just do what is required. There is no peak in the entire performance of the team. So then it's the coach role to be able to bring them towards this. What it means? We are consistently motivated. All team members are always motivated because the coach is always there in guiding, and it comes to a point where every member is already leading the culture. For example, we mentioned about being positive, right? maybe encouraging everyone regardless of the results that they do. For example, someone don't do so well, you inculcate a culture where people will encourage, oh, don't worry, it's okay, we can do it together. Like you say, maybe not so much of, I do it, then don't care. But it's more the point where, since you have done it already, you did it for the team, we will take it together. Alright, so everyone is leading this. There is a point where the coach doesn't need to be there so much. Alright, and it's performing. And then lastly is the one that we mentioned just now, adjourning. So the next question is, you choose this.
Okay, so we've come to the last part, okay, which is going to help you do your assignment that you need to hand in. Okay, so initially when Azhar started, we talked about the internal and the external factors that affect the sports group, right? And then Elson brought us through during group development, what can happen during the stages. Okay, so with those two in mind, this helps again to bring this to a close, to summarize, to help you in the last part. So how can we then ultimately increase our chances of success when we want to build a high performance team? Okay, and of course all these relates back to the culture. So Heckman, okay, Heckman came up with this 5 factors model, okay, that will help you to identify the elements that will increase your chances of success. Nothing that is said here hasn't been said before already. Let's see. So the first one, being a real group. So there are 3 points under that. Stable group membership. Of course, if you want to start building a positive culture, you need to have a stable group membership, right? You need to have a stable number of athletes. Okay, the turnover rate is low. How do we do that? So this is something that a coach finds it very hard to control. What can you do? So as a coach, you need to identify, I guess, the push and pull factors. Why do your athletes want to stay? What's so special about this team? Or why do they want to leave? Is it something to do with your coaching style or something else that drives them to want to leave? Okay, so when you understand the nature of the group, the pull and push factors, that can help to stabilize your group membership. Okay, and of course, being a real group means there must be shared tasks among your group members. Every member must feel like a member in the team. And to feel like a member in the team, they must have a common goal, a common task. So we talked about just now, in terms of giving them roles. So we talked about formal roles, as captain, vice captain, your treasurer. There are also informal roles, maybe the faster athlete or someone who is stronger. Okay, so what are the roles that they have? Okay, what does it encompass? So everyone must have a part to play so that you can form a real group. And the third point, group boundaries. What makes your team your team? Okay, what differentiates someone in the team or someone not being in the team? So with a shared identity, they will feel that they are part of a real group. Okay? The next point, how do you again identify, how do you increase the chances of your success? You need a compelling direction. So how do we have a compelling direction? We talked a lot earlier about goals. So if you have a clear goal using your SMART, your members are more committed to reaching that goal. That's how you build a culture as well, okay, where everyone has the same shared goal. So your personal goals, individual goals must align to the group goals. Okay? So having goals in place, you also need structure. Your team, there must be some form of structure. Okay? So your different members, they must be able to have the autonomy to complete the task given to them. What are the norms? Is it clear? What is the expectations of them? What are their roles and all? And ultimately, the composition. What size of the team can you manage? Okay, what is the composition of the team? The next point, supportive context. So you have to look again at your own reward system. What is it that you reward? Okay, how do you reward performance? And what is good performance? information system. Do the athletes have readily available information so that they can complete the task at hand? Okay, so everything must be in place. Educational system, what are they learning? What are the technical knowledge that they can learn from you? Okay, and what are the available resources? And then lastly, expert coaching. Teams, as you heard just now from Elson, they do not just form like that. Suddenly you want a strong culture, day one, it's there. It has to go through a process. But as a coach, where do you come in? Where is your role? Okay? Your role, beginning, midpoint, and end. What do you do in the beginning? What are some things you do in the beginning when you're trying to build up a culture? The roles. What else? Responsibility, the norms. Midpoint. What do you think a coach does in the midpoint? Resolve conflicts, if any. Maybe for those goals that they have performed, how are they performing? You don't expect the captain from day one to know how to be a captain or vice captain. Evaluate what they have done well, what they have not done well, for the purpose of future. How do they lead the team in the future, starting from now? And then at the end point, so you have come to the end of your roles. What have you learned? What is the takeaway? Okay? So that leads you to your reflection question, which is also the assignment. What do you need to think about when you actually become a coach? How do you want to build this positive team culture? So you need to look at the last page of your learner's guide. Okay, sorry, you will have a copy.
So you don't have to tear it out.
Yes.
We're going to give you a copy for suggestion. So this is individual work.
Name on top and the name list at the back. Some of you give me short names, English names that's not behind. I cannot match these, you don't score.
Okay, so but before we, you got about 15 minutes to complete this. Before we begin, any last questions? Any last questions? Essentially, okay. Right, so essentially, what you want to write down here would be serial number, and then what factors it will be. It could be the normings, it could be the ground rules that you want to put down, and then you elaborate exactly what you have got in mind in terms of your plan. So all the boxes that you fill out earlier that we are building up, so that one you can transfer to things that you are committed to do here. So the idea therefore is, now I am a coach, I'm a qualified coach. I know about establishing or the importance of establishing culture. What do I want to do from start to end? Right, so I have a new group coming to me, or I have an existing group for which I want to make a change to make the group better. What is my action plan? Right, so a header, just a one word or few words header, and then what is it that we're trying to do?
Please be specific. I think because there's a lot of theory, what we want to see is application. So don't just write things, I want to have ground rules. What are your ground rules?
So the ground rules could be the header, right, the factor, and then the action plan is, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Is that clear? Sorry? Date, you don't have to put date, because, okay, the intention is this can be taken and to really put it down. So if now you are a fully qualified coach, then I have a group coming in next week that just sign up for my class. Then I can use that same template to plan out, and then that's where I'm going to put specific dates up. But for tonight, you don't have to put any dates. Just serial number, header, and then your action plan. And I like for you to make it sequential. What do I do first? What do I do next? What do I do third, and so on.
From beginning to end.
Whatever you define as end.
Whatever you want to put in place to build a strong culture, how will you start? How will you start? Will you start with ground rule first? Will you start with roles?
You start with reward. So it has to be sequential. So it has to make sense to us when we're reading and marking it. Okay? So I already dropped you a hint. If you put rewards first, then... Okay, Ken? No more hints, Alright, so this is individual work, so no copying, no discussing. Okay, so if your assumption is, brought up a good point, if your assumption is you are likely to be coaching a younger group, then you maybe put it down.